Thưa quý vị, tiếp theo là thời lượng dành cho chuyên mục Cuộc sống thông minh. Và trong số phát sóng lần này, chuyên gia của chúng tôi sẽ mang đến những điểm mới về tầm quan trọng của việc khám sức khỏe định kỳ. Mời quý vị khán giả cùng theo dõi ngay sau đây.
Hạnh xin kính chào quý vị. Quý vị đang theo dõi chuyên mục Cuộc sống thông minh trên kênh truyền hình FBNC, chuỗi chủ đề về tư vấn sức khỏe. Ngày hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng gặp gỡ và trò chuyện với bác sĩ Rafi, là CEO của chuỗi phòng khám Family Medical Practice, xung quanh chủ đề về khám sức khỏe định kỳ. Mời quý vị cùng theo dõi. Dr. Rafi, it's really good to see you again and sit down with you, and let's talk about health checks today.
Yeah, go ahead.
It seems that people in Vietnam are paying more attention and taking health checks more seriously. But it's true that there are still misperceptions around health checks, right? So what do you think are the most common misperceptions around health checks?
I don't think the problem is in the health check. I think the problem is cultural, karma, destiny, and some kind of roots of poverty, thinking that we can't afford it. And if it happens, it happens. And then we run around and see what we can do. I think that, and you see it all over the board. You see it actually, not only that, you see it in ambulances. People don't want to buy membership for ambulances because it's not going to happen to me. Now, this not going to happen to me is universal. Everybody thinks, oh, you know, oh, I'm going to be healthy and it's him, it's not me. The problem is that, and we see it in Vietnam especially, and you can see it, is mainly in the field of cancer. And Vietnam's morbidity, cancer morbidity, is one of the highest in the world. The sad thing is that it's not only high morbidity, but people come late. And I think that, and this is so disappointing to doctors who, and frustrating to doctors who try to give treatment, and people who actually come late because they don't bother to check themselves. And it has nothing to do with cult knowledge or whatnot. It is an issue of priorities, and it's an issue of cultural karma. And I have seen people in my 33 years work in Vietnam who are scholars, university graduates, and she has a tennis ball growth in her head, in her brain. And she takes Panadol every day. Wow. And I was asking, why on earth didn't you come earlier? So it's always the issue of, it's not me, maybe it's not that. And of course, it's always also the fear of knowing the truth. And that's universal. People are afraid to know the truth. I mean, oh my God, I came early in the morning, I was healthy, and now I came out of there and I'm all in pieces. Right. So it's a complicated thing. It's not one factor, it's a multifactorial thing. But I think that once you expose population to a positive experience in healthcare, they become partners. And when they understand that they are partners, all these walls that are created are falling. And they are willing to come more and even to come and do prevention. Because what are we talking about? We're talking prevention.
So actually having you here talking about that is one of the ways to help change the situation. But you know, how can we change that? Like, what other ways we can change that? And what is the right way to look at health checks here in Vietnam?
A, education. Right. And education from schools, young age. It's not that you take someone who's 40 and you tell him it's important and tomorrow morning he is running. Not going to happen. It's a process. It's education, propaganda, and Vietnam is very good in propaganda. So propaganda in the schools, very young age, check your teeth, check this, check that, and slowly you bring people there. It's not going to happen tomorrow. The other thing which I want to say is, there is always this thing, oh, I want to know everything. And when a patient comes to the doctor, I want to know everything. And I'm always asking, why do you need to know everything if sometimes I have no cure? Why don't we go to the most common things? To the horses, not to the zebras. Something that has treatment. What happens is that a lot of medical providers turned it into a business. And they radiate people by CT scans all the body. One CT is like 50 X-rays. So I need a CT scan of all my body. Sure, CT scan. Do this? Sure, do that. So there's a huge amount of over-service. And over-service which has nothing to do with what really needs to be done. So we need, first of all, to make sure that the tests we do make sense. And they are logical.
So, you know, some of us, maybe let's say me, for example, I may take a health check, but what I would do is I just sit there, follow the doctor's instruction, and leave everything to the doctors and do nothing. Then wait there, like even before the health check or after, with the results in my hands. I do nothing to follow up. So actually, that's not a good thing, I believe. So how can we make the most out of an annual health check, before, during, and after?
I think a good health check is a health check which tells you what are your chances to pass the next year seamlessly, without any problems. That's first. That's a good health check. Not, oh, you have a gene which maybe you will have a breast cancer. Now you're not going to sleep 50 years. Yes, you have a gene. You carry the gene, so what? So the tests have to you need to get tests and to go to a place where the tests, again, make sense and give you peace of mind for the next year. Now, the other point is, how do I engage you if I find something? That's a different story. And that's a story which we are going into a totally different field, and that's the structure of Vietnam's healthcare. Vietnam's healthcare currently does not fit a modern country. Many times people go and say, oh, I had fever. I went to the hospital. Who goes to the hospital for fever? In Vietnamese. Because there's no buffer zone. There's no primary care. Now, if you had a primary care doctor and you come with the results after he sent you, you have a partner who knows you. He knows you for years, since you've been this big. And he will move you through it. That's his job. Primary care.
Right. So does one need to take extra precaution if there is let's say, a genetic disease running in the family, like cancer or diabetes or heart disease?
So regarding the genetic problems, if you have a very strong family history, obviously you need a follow-up. But we are now going into a very different field, which is a very exciting field, and this is the future. And we deal with not predicting who will have cancer. We want to deal with patients who have already been diagnosed with cancer. Now, if a patient comes early and you diagnose it, what you do is you do a biopsy. And you take a little piece and you check today what is the genetic defect that runs the cancer. Chemotherapy is going aside. Patients die from chemotherapy, not from the cancer. So what we created today, we created medications which are actually working on the specific gene that drives the cancer. But what did we find out? That a cancer, the gene which drives the cancer and is bad here, is not the same one here and here and here. Oh, there are many genes. Now, we are not going to poke a patient all over and kill him. So we wait a bit. And when the cancer becomes a certain size, the cells start to shred off and go to the blood. So with a simple blood test, I'm going to put it on a special system, clean the blood, refine the DNA, run it through the system, and tell the doctor what are the genes, not one, what are the drivers, what are the genes, and what is the target therapy that has to be given to this patient. Now this is the future. And we are actually the first ones who are going to start doing it in Vietnam on a mass size. Our contracts are basically with countries from out of Vietnam, which will send us a simple blood tube. And it's doable. And if Vietnamese patients want to do it as well, they can enjoy the service. The service is amazing because your oncologist, the cancer doctor, knows exactly which medicine to use and not to kill you with something that kills everything and the cancer. So we are going there. The whole world is going there. In the next, I think, 5-10 years, the cancer will become a chronic disease. A chronic disease. That's where we are all. That's where the research is going. Move cancer from a killing disease to a chronic disease. And we manage it. So we are starting such a center. This is not a center for prediction. We only deal with cancer patients, and specifically lung cancer patients.
When will that be available here in Vietnam, you say?
3 months from now.
Wow.
So we're good to go. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We're working with the Thermo Scientific on it. It's a big operation, very high-tech. Some of the team is coming from outside, and some of the lesser team kind of will come from Vietnam, but we want in 2 years to make sure that the Vietnamese can take over, and the team from India, United States, and Israel is able to go back home, and we can run this thing. And this might put Ho Chi Minh City, like the leaders of the city want, on the map as the regional area of next generation sequencing for lung cancer. So anybody in Russia or anywhere else, or lung cancer, send it by tube to Vietnam. They are the ones who do it. The price is great, and the speed is very, very fast.
But tell us a little more about how you adopted the NGS in cancer treatment, and how is it different from the conventional cancer treatment, like you say, the chemotherapy?
The chemotherapy that we use today is very strong medications. Chemotherapy does not distinguish between bad cells and good cells. It kills everything. Sometimes you can't use it because the patient is unable to tolerate it. You will kill the patient from the medication rather than from the cancer itself. So we come and say, okay, move the chemotherapy outside. Let's go on really target-oriented. Let's find the genes and the drivers which are creating the cancer, and let's block them. This is the future. This is the tomorrow. By the way, it's already starting to be done in the United States. Big company called Foundation Medicine, our biggest competition, they are doing it. And this is the answer. Now, it's a good answer, but it's also an answer for people who spend money, and I want to tell them, I'm sorry, the drivers and the thing you have, we couldn't find what it is, so there's no medicine that will really help you. So don't spend your money, but do some practical preparations. It's sad, but it gives people a little bit better understanding of their prognosis. Now, what happens after that? Hopefully that if I give him a few more years and he's not dying, maybe another medication will come and I can prolong again and again and again. But this is not next generation sequencing, especially in blood tests, which is called liquid biopsies, is not for first or second stage cancer. Because you need something that will be big enough to shed cancer cells in order to be picked in the blood. So usually third stage.
I see. Wow, that's amazing. That's mind-blowing.
This is the future. That's where we go to.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I think that's a lot of insight you have there. Thanks a lot for sharing today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Quý vị thân mến, chúng ta vừa cùng trò chuyện với bác sĩ Rafi, là CEO của chuỗi phòng khám Family Medical Practice xung quanh chủ đề về khám sức khỏe định kỳ. Cảm ơn quý vị đã quan tâm theo dõi. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong các chuyên mục lần sau.